that they are common. And I remember when I was doing my master's work at Southern Illinois University, you would bring speakers in from different disciplines and go and listen to them, and they would go into a debate. Okay, so they would debate each other about their theories. But one would come out of biology, another might come out of material science. And so the material scientist is over here, and he's giving his ideas and theories, and then the biologist would get up and give his ideas and theories, and then they would talk to each other about trying to set common grounds, but they were arguing not over the common ground, whether this was correct or that was correct. They were all arguing over the language that each other used to describe what it is, the events that they saw. But if you looked at the principles that they were mentioning and talking about, they were saying the same thing.
So in a sense, the body of work gives you a way to discuss commonality, right?
That's right.
Without
I mean, how do you do that? Well, I'm still finding that. I'm still trying to find it. I spent a good portion of my life trying to understand how do you cut that barrier down that we built, between groups, because we have become specialists. Because they're not. They're really generalists in many cases. They're looking for the same answers. They're asking the same questions and looking for the answer for the same question, but they don't know how to communicate to each other. And I think some of these kind of ways where you show this irregardless of what the term is, or the language that's used, or what have you, that it has a tendency to cut through that and say, I'm doing. You take virologists, for instance, that work with the understanding of the growth and the development and the structure of a virus is based on most of them are based on the icosahedron. And then you look at a crystallographer and you find out that the same figure, the same form shows up in mineralogy. Right? Now, how do they communicate what the commonalities that one has with the other in the discipline when they're both using a different language to do so? Yet, what is the common language? It's that form. It's that element. It's that configuration that is combined and come together there. That's a commonality between both of them.
Yeah. Do you think that learning this material from a young age in sort of a more standardized way would increase people's awareness as they discover?
No, I think it ought to be held. I really believe we need to rethink Froebel's methods.
Yeah.
Where you go back to the exploratory type of things. You try to find out those elements which are common throughout all languages.
Right.
And then you start allowing people to explore those. So they go through the exploratory way or explorative way of understanding and seeing how they come together and where it becomes useful in whatever their interests are. And there again, I think we've lost that. Sort of historically, we have started building barriers not intentionally. That has led to us not looking really, even starting out in our elementary schools at a very elementary level.
Right.
What we do is we jump in the middle of something.
Right.
Thinking.
Without really telling people that it's the middle.
Yeah. I have a problem.
You don't know where you are.
I have a problem with how we handle just taking the topic of mathematics. We think it's much easier and much better for the student to give him a calculator and not worried about how numbers are added or subtracted or multiplied or that type of thing, because it's very fast to get an answer.
Yeah.
But the child doesn't understand what was behind that instrument, that tool that became very valuable because he was started in with the tool.
Right.
And we're doing that more and more and more and more. And to me, the real tool is going back to what this mechanical device does. That's not the tool. Okay, the tool is that language of the connections from one system to another system. And I think that we need to rethink. That's another aspect of what I like about this, is that you've got some central core that you're working from, and that there's these elements that seem to be common to wherever you go. It's always that common core. It keeps building and building and building. What I hope doesn't happen is we go through the history that we've gone through before, to where suddenly the core is lost and we focus upon the solution that has come about because of a question that you asked while you were working with those core principles. And we have a tendency to do that. The original author, the original discoverer, so to speak, who has developed the language, then that language now becomes the key, not the principles that built the language. And we build that and build that and build on that. And we expand it and expand it and expand it, but we've lost the core. And I think that the ancients were building the core, but they got lost in the process of the advancements that came from the core. And I think we've done the same thing with our understanding of the environment around us, and that's why we're worried about climate change and these other problems that are associated with it. You know, the people who grew up on the land understands more about the land than the people who grew up in the communities where the land was not underfoot. You didn't run your toes in the ground. So it's kind of foreign to people. You know, not to say that it's not still there. It's just that it's not real apparent. It's not something that is core to your approach and your way of thinking.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
That was wonderful. We'll have to do that again.
New Tools Lab. Here we are.
Woohoo!